This is a second note on technique. You'll notice that I have another video in this series called A Note on Technique. Well, this is the second one. I'd like to start by talking about a passage that I read in a rather old issue of Guitar School magazine. This is the July 1991 issue. Get my fingers out of the way. This is the July 1991 issue of Guitar School magazine. You can see Vito Bratta on the cover there. In this issue, there is a transcription of David Lee Roth's tune, It's Showtime. And Jason Becker, who was Roth's guitar player at the time, wrote a commentary on his performance in that song, and I'd like to read to you a passage from that commentary. When I read this for the first time, I found that it was quite useful in my attempts, in my endeavors to gain speed on the instrument. So here it is. He's talking about some of the faster passages. He says, "Everyone says to start out slow. I guess that's alright when you're learning the notes, but once you get them under your fingers, try playing them too fast, even if it sounds sloppy. This will make everything seem easier when you play them at the right tempo." So, as we go about gaining speed, I'm going to approach with that in mind. So, as we get into the exercise videos, you'll see that principle at work. There are a couple other things I wanted to talk to you about here, and just let me check the notes I made for myself. Okay. So, a few videos back, I showed you an exercise. Let's bring my chair up a little bit so you can see my fretboard. I think my head might be out of the shot now, but that's okay. That's not the important part. I showed you this exercise here. Okay. Now, I didn't realize these things until after I had come up with this exercise, but this particular exercise has some advantages to it that are going to make things easier when you start applying these picking mechanics to, for example, the scale shapes we've been looking at. Now, if you pay real close attention to the right hand on this passage, you're going to notice a couple of things. Number one, when we're doing those first kind of two chunks of notes, watch the right hand, and I'll get in a little closer here. Hopefully this shows up on the frame. Watch this. You'll notice that the right hand is confined to this particular two-string set. Right here I'm just kind of grasping onto the 6th and the 5th strings. Now, as you progress through this exercise, you're going to jump from one string set to the next. Now I'm going to go on the 4th and the 3rd string. Now for the last part of the exercise, I'm going to go to the 2nd and the 1st strings. Why is this important? Well, that jump with the right hand from one string set to the next makes the exercise just a little bit awkward. So when I play this, start to finish, let's see if I can play that again a little cleaner. Yeah, that jump from this string set to this string set to the next, the 2, and the 2 here, that actually makes it easier when you start applying these techniques to the scales that I've shown you previously. So for example, if you want to apply these picking mechanics to, for example, the Ionian scale shape, which I first showed you in the first position here. I don't know if you can see that. Let me back up a little bit, but this one here. That F major scale shape. Now, when I apply it to these scale shapes, I'm not actually doing such a drastic jump from string set to string set. So I'll show you what I mean by that. I'll play it fast and then I'll play it slow. Okay, so that was actually much easier for me than it was to play that, because I'm not jumping from those from one string set to the next. And I'll show you a little slower. Here, watch this. So rather than going from these two strings up to these two, then to these two, I'm simply going like this. I'm going the 6th and the 5th string, then I'm going the 5th and the 4th, and then I'm going the 4th and the 3rd, and so on and so on. So I'll show you that one more time. Slow and then or rather fast and then slow. Okay, so if I do that slow, watch my right hand, and I'll move in a little bit here for the right hand shot. So you notice that there are no drastic jumps from string set to string set. So that G minor exercise that I showed you a while ago, and let me back up again, this one here. It has some value because it makes your picking mechanics just a little harder than they need to be, and that can help you reap some benefits when you go back to playing the regular scale shapes, the 7 scale shapes that I've shown you. Let me find some more of my notes here. Let's see. We've done the picking mechanics. We've done the exercise versus the scale shapes. I just want to talk to you a little bit about my mindset when I'm practicing these exercises. When I'm practicing, for example, this one. The thing that's going through my head as I'm working with my metronome is not how fast can I go. It's not even, can I make it perfect. I'm not trying to make it perfect. I find the more I whip myself, the more I beat myself up over not being perfect, the more likely I am to screw up, and the more likely I am to go like this. Oh, wait, hold on. The more likely I am to have to start over again every single time. And I find the most productive mindset to have is this: practice for fluidity. Okay, so regardless of what happens, once I've started that scale shape, I'm committed to it. I'm going to see it through from start to finish and then back again, regardless of whether I slop it up. And you know what? If I do slop it up, I'll get it the next time. And if I screw that one up, then I'll get it the next time. But the thing is, you don't want to train yourself to just stop when you screw up. You want to train yourself to play through your screw-ups. And little by little, those screw-ups will become fewer and further between. And you'll have that fluidity. For example, I like to think of building speed not as I don't liken it to building a wall. For example, you're not going one layer at a time, one layer of bricks at a time until you've gone from, say, 40 beats a minute to 5,000 beats a minute. Okay, I liken this more to polishing a stone. This technique here it's a stone that starts out rough, and I push it from the very lowest tempo marking that I have to the highest one that I think is reasonable. So in my case, I like to push it up to about 130 beats a minute, so then when I play it at 120 beats a minute, it feels a lot more comfortable. So I think of it, again, not like I'm building something. I'm not building a wall. I'm not building a pyramid or anything like that. I think of it like I'm polishing a stone. And every time I go through this exercise set, every time I work out this exercise, it gets just a little smoother and a little smoother and a little smoother. So like a stone, it becomes much more polished over time. Now that being said, what a lot of people don't think of when they're practicing guitar is that our fingers, our hands, we have what are called fast twitch muscle fibers in them. I completely forget where I learned that, but I think it was in Guitar World or something. And if you don't believe me, you can, go ask a pro, go ask a physiotherapist. I'm sure they could tell you more about it than I could. But what I found out, what I discovered is these fast twitch muscle fibers need to be worked, and they need to be worked quickly. So let's suppose you're having trouble with the exercise. Let's suppose you're playing, and let's suppose you're starting to get sloppy, but you still want to practice the speed. What you would do is this. Suppose you're at a really high tempo. You can't get that fluidity from bottom to top and back. What you're going to do instead is you're going to practice in short little bursts. And I have to give Troy Stetna, from his book Speed Mechanics for Lead Guitar, and I also need to give John Petrucci credit for this one because that's where I first learned these ideas. So rather than trying to go all the way through from bottom to top, if you find that you're having trouble with fluidity, you still need to practice the speed, and here's how to do it, like this. Let's suppose you can only do 6 notes really, really fast with accuracy and ease. It goes like this. And if that's as far as you can go, that's great. And then what you do is you start building up a little bit at a time on top of that. So you go like this. Until eventually you could hold that out continuously, like so. And then from there, once you have that little piece of the exercise nailed, you can start going like this. So if all you can do is this one little chunk at speed, fantastic. Start with that, and then little by little start building the rest of that technique on top of that. Okay, maybe that's as far as you can go. And then as you make progress, maybe that's as far as you can go. But little by little, you'll keep adding those chunks and putting them together until eventually it's nice and smooth. But the thing you never want to sacrifice, and this is something that I took from Kenny Werner's book, Effortless Mastery. You never, ever, ever want to sacrifice effortless execution. Okay? So you could sacrifice speed, and you could maintain accuracy and effortless execution. Or you could sacrifice accuracy, keep speed, and maintain effortless execution. But the point is, you never ever want to be tensed up and having a hard time doing it. You always want to be enjoying yourself, and it needs to feel good. It needs to feel smooth and effortless regardless of how you practice it. Because if you practice with tension, if you practice sort of with fear of getting it wrong, you're not going to make the gains that you want. If you practice, with this fear of never getting to where you want to be, that fear is going to limit you. So I think, let's see here, I think that's all I wanted to cover for this little note on technique. So I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.